For more than a century, Australian politics has been governed by a powerful but unwritten rule. Come election time, voters had a simple choice.
Is the sweetest victory of all.
Either elect a Labor or coalition government.
The complete dominance of the coalition and Labor is over.
With an election looming, the old rule book is being ripped apart. No longer on the fringes, independents and minor parties are tapping into anger, winning mainstream support and are set to capture more than a third of the vote. How angry do you think the electorate is?
Really angry, really angry. Forget what you think you know about elections in Australia. This is changing really quick.
Peter Dutton needs to win 19 new seats to take majority government. But losing just 3 sends Anthony Albanese into minority.
Australians have been fed up with the two major parties for a long time.
Is the two-party system, once unshakable, collapsing? The cosy duopoly that's dominated Australian politics is crumbling under the weight of voter disillusionment, economic uncertainty and deep cultural divides. In every corner of the country, from suburban battlegrounds to regional heartlands, the political landscape is being redrawn. As an election looms, we visit 4 key seats where traditional loyalties are vanishing. The question is, will these new fault lines deliver a change in government, or will they change Australian politics forever? We're here in the electorate of Werriwa, a seat that Labor's held for the last 90 years. It was once Labor heartland, the home of Gough Whitlam, but it's now very much up for grabs. Changing demographics and the cost of living has Labor strategists worried. Labor holds Werriwa in Sydney's southwest by just 5.3%. One of 9 marginal seats it's defending in New South Wales, where the election will be won or lost. In this cost of living election, Labor has plenty to worry about. For the first time, Four Corners reveals that in 82% of seats, most households are in financial stress. Astonishingly, up from just 8% 3 years ago. That's where paychecks barely cover basic living expenses. And Werriwa has the second highest level of financial stress in Australia.
This is the heartland of pain. This is where we're going to see elections won and lost and ultimately decided.
Liz Allen is a social demographer at the Australian National University. She says Labor's challenges in Werriwa are mirrored in suburban seats right across the country.
What will play out here will be playing out across Australia, in homes, around the TV, around the breakfast table. This is the making and breaking of the next government.
Labor's margin in Werriwa is just a third of what it was when Kevin Rudd swept to power. That's firmly in the danger zone for an incumbent government, struggling in the polls and under attack on multiple fronts. What do you think's unique or different about this election?
Australia is at a tipping point, a social crossroads, whereby we are confronted with a grossly uncertain future. We have housing affordability, a major issue, economic insecurity, gender inequality, and a climate emergency.
How dangerous is that for an incumbent government, do you think?
An incumbent government will cop the brunt of the anger of the uncertainty of tomorrow.
Hi, Sophia.
Hey, miss.
You ready for your lesson today?
Yes.
How are you going?
Good.
Let's start off with, we'll do a lap around the rink to warm up, yeah? Nice long pushes, keep your arms out.
This anger is slicing through
Good job.
Labor's traditional base.
Try and stay nice and balanced, body nice and still.
In years past, Labor could have banked on the support of families like the Knipes.
There we go.
Mum Susie grew up in Werriwa and has stayed in the area with husband Daniel to raise their kids, Sophia and Michael. Many migrant families like hers were once rusted-on Labor voters.
My parents came out here in the 50s, and just the community with our family, they all moved onto the same street. You know, I had my cultural Italian roots, but then also we idolised the Australians. They had such a love for their country, for their culture.
But her fond memories of an idyllic suburban childhood have been dimmed by the frustrations of rapid population growth due to recent migration.
This is the really big growth corridor of Sydney.
Yeah.
Do you feel like the public amenities, the infrastructure has kept up with that?
No, it's not ready for it. No, and with the projections of how many more, I just don't know how it's going to work out, how they'll be able to manage this growth. Okay. Do you want to pop the cheese in? Let's start with that. Yeah, get your hands in there.
This feels like icky.
Many of their friends are moving out of the area. Why are they leaving?
They're seeing that, you know, crime has changed, that it's not the same place where they grew up, where everyone got along, and it is becoming overpopulated, but there's not enough infrastructure and supports out there to help maintain it. And it's like some very different ideas are kind of getting all mixed together, and there's no kind of unity for like the Australian values. We see that we're losing a bit of that.
This has been a strong Labor seat for 90 years. Do you think it's been taken for granted?
Oh, definitely, yeah. And most people will say that, yeah, in the area. What's the secret? Come on, not too much squishing. We won't be voting for Labor, I don't think so, yeah.
And why not?
Because we want to see a change, and we think that's probably the way that can happen. And that maybe the government starts looking at our area as an area that isn't just going to sit around and let what's happening to it happen.
Both the major parties have promised to cut migration.
Immigration, just like population, will undoubtedly be weaponised. One thing is for certain here. When we create this population panic, and within that fear and concern around immigration, whether real or not, we are looking away from the main issues of persistent policy failures, generation over generation, that have got us to this point.
Socially conservative migrants and voters who have tired of progressive politics are making the outer suburbs harder for Labor to hold. A recent survey found Werriwa was the most conservative Labor-held seat in the country.
Yeah, Western Sydney is a battleground because it's so volatile.
Paul Williams is a political scientist at Griffith University.
Western Sydney might be warming up to Peter Dutton. It's that sort of constituency that might be, you know, grappling with conservatism and also resentful of Labor and what they see as a dropping of the ball on inflation. So Western Sydney is going to be a tough ask for Labor.
The Liberals are going after seats in Labor's heartland like never before.
My name is Sam. I'm actually running for Federal Parliament. How's the family? See you again, mate. I'm Sam. How are you? Hello, mate. How are you? What's your name?
The Liberals have chosen local accountant Sam Kayal to take on Labor in Werriwa,
Mate, my name is Sam.
one of the most ethnically diverse seats in the country.
Thank you. So my parents came here in the late 70s. So my parents originally from Lebanon, from the north. We came here, I was young, about 7 or 8 years old. I couldn't speak English, to be quite honest with you, so I went to school and we found it very tough. But, you know, we grew up in the southwest. Dad was sort of a factory worker, Mum was a stay-home. We want to make sure that the young Australians can realise the dream of home ownership. The building of these housing has been delayed because of 15th Avenue.
He's keen to show how poor planning is slowing down the construction of new homes.
We need the infrastructure to be built, not only just the roads, but the water, the sewerage, the gas, the electricity. There's a lot of vacant land out here. It's actually DA ready, but we need the infrastructure to be built. There's a lot of aspirational Australians who want to move in.
With the seat so hotly contested, both parties have promised a $1 billion fix for this single-lane road in Werriwa, the notorious 15th Avenue.
You can say at least there's an accident a week on this road. One, two, three, testing, 1, 2, 3.
Today, Sam Kayal is making his housing pitch on social media with a local property developer.
I'm here in Austral with Romeo, CEO of First Style Homes. I just want to have a chat to him about the challenges that he is facing in terms of building the homes here in Austral. Romeo, please let us know.
But there's one subject he's less keen to post about.
One of the issues that gets a lot of play on social media is Gaza. And you're a Muslim yourself.
Yes.
To date, you haven't said a lot about it.
Look, I think from our point of view, we've made sure that we, in terms of the situation in Gaza, we need a two-state solution.
You've not said anything about it yet, though?
Well, what I'm saying is I've talked within the community.
Why not say that publicly?
Well, I'm saying it right now to you. We need a two-state solution.
The next stop is Swansea Road.
First-time voter Faria Dean lives in Werriwa.
So I finished my first year at UNSW and I'm going to be going into my second year studying medicine.
For Faria, the war in Gaza is a key election issue.
I do think a lot of the community, my community, even like the communities in the surrounding regions in Sydney, I think that is going to definitely influence their vote.
Do you think any of the political parties have a view on Gaza that you find acceptable?
Yes, I do think the Greens Party have been definitely far more proactive about the issue.
What about more broadly? Do you think the two major parties connect with young people?
First of all, the way that they deliver the message to us, it's not very, someone who's not interested in politics, they're not going to really be picking it up.
And that extends to her local Labor member, Anne Stanley.
Hi everybody, as you can see, today is another hot day in a long, hot summer.
I did have a look at her social media page recently and I don't believe it's really connecting with young people.
The Werriwa of 2025 is a very different place to the one Anne Stanley grew up in. For the last 9 years, she's held this seat for Labor.
Well, I was looking at the AEC figures. You're the youngest electorate in the country. I think you've got more first-time voters, more voters under 30 than any other electorate. How do you connect with those people?
By listening, by being out in the community, by being on social media.
Morning everybody, we're here on Elizabeth Drive to announce the next stage in a project that is upgrading infrastructure in our part of the world.
Hello, how are you?
Thank you very much.
Hey, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Lovely to meet you. Hi, Judy.
Today, Anne Stanley is turning a sod for a new state high school. This election, she's fighting for her political life.
You never know.
Are you worried that you could be the first Labor member in 90 years to lose this seat?
I don't take anything for granted. I'm working really hard for this community. I think I have spent all my life in this community and I am doing as much as I can.
1, 2, 3. Yay!
There you go. Well done. Too easy. Well done.
Do you think the Labor Party has taken Werriwa for granted?
No, I don't. Well, certainly I haven't. Absolutely not.
Like her Liberal challenger, Anne Stanley has been reluctant to talk about Gaza. Although she represents an electorate with a large Middle Eastern community, she said nothing publicly for the first 5 months of the war.
I had been advocating behind the scenes about what was going on, listening to my community, doing face-to-face advocacy for people.
5 months to say anything, it's a long time, isn't it?
Well, I was actually having those conversations face-to-face with people.
I mean, one thing that someone pointed out to me was that there were more posts about your garden than there were about Gaza.
I don't count them.
Labor can no longer rely on the migrant vote in suburban areas. Labor can no longer rely on the working class to get itself into office. I don't feel that Labor is truly understanding what's happening in Australia right now.
But it's not just Labor that's seeing a fracturing of its traditional base.
It's here where we could see one of the biggest upsets of the election. We're in the seat of Wannon, southwestern Victoria, where a 36-year-old comedian called Alex Dyson is a strong chance of unseating a Liberal heavyweight and former Cabinet Minister Dan Tehan.
Wannon was once a safe Liberal seat, but its margin has slipped to just 3.8%. The latest polls show it will be a tight race. With independents holding a record 12 seats in federal parliament, this is a key battleground.
Might get going. It's just a great way to physically stay fit, but also mentally stay fit and be able to deal with the stresses of often what are very long days. You've got to love what you do, and I'm lucky because I really love what I do.
Dan Tehan will soon find out if this love is reciprocated. Peter Small has been farming here in the Western Districts of Victoria for almost half a century.
There's the gate closed. Always close the gate.
And it's been Liberal Party country since 1955, when a future Prime Minister won the seat.
Malcolm Fraser, with incredible attention to community, built Wannon into one of the safest Liberal seats in Australia. But I think today the Liberal Party has taken Wannon for granted and they think it's going to be theirs forever. Well, we might test that.
Yeah, come here. Hey. Come here, Rusty. Come here.
At 83, Peter Small still helps out in the yards, but his days are also spent pushing for political change. He's an unlikely adversary for Dan Tehan and the Liberals. His family connection to the party goes all the way back to its legendary founder.
The family story is that often after church on Sundays, the Menzies elders, that's Bob's parents, used to go to our families for Sunday lunch.
Not so long ago, Peter Small was deeply committed to the Liberals. He was president of the local party branch, but that relationship has ended.
Did you leave them or did they leave you?
They left. And they've gone down on some, what they call conservative journey, but they left the core principle. And with that, they left behind all Menzies true believers. I want to see this electorate have some clout again. And the only way we're going to get some clout, in my view, and in view of many other people, I might say, is to make it a swinging seat.
To achieve this, he's backing Dan Tehan's young nemesis, the independent candidate, Alex Dyson.
Hello, my name is Alex Dyson, and I'm running as the independent candidate for the seat of Warden in the federal election. And here are my policies via the medium of interpretive dance.
That post went viral, launching his political career.
What do we want? A better deal!
Very nice.
This election, the former Triple J presenter will be calling on his growing army of volunteers who turn out in all conditions.
Yeah, you put a nice day on for us. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, we don't have the budget for the good weather package here, I'm sorry.
This is his third attempt at winning Wannon.
We've got more dogs here today than in volunteers on my first campaign. It was maybe about 9 people in total. But we got in there and got 10% of the vote the first time around, which was just astounding for such a small campaign.
So how different is this campaign?
Alex Dyson's vote almost doubled at the last election. His pitch is that the Liberals have for years ignored the seat.
Corangamite next door to us, it's been a marginal seat for quite a while now. So regional Victorian seat, but it got about $55 million in discretionary grants, and we got about $7 million in discretionary grants. And I think people could say that's just not fair.
He is campaigning saying he just wants a fair share for Wannon. That's fair enough, isn't it?
Yeah, look, I've put out a brochure which has detailed everything that we've delivered, and that's over $3 billion to the electorate. It's all detailed, it's all there.
Hey mate, how you going?
With a hung parliament likely, Alex Dyson believes independents like him will soon be wielding substantial power.
Otty, can you go see if you can find me a ball, please?
But before that, he has a tough campaign ahead. The attack ads have already begun. Some suggesting he's a closet Green.
We've had 2 now deep fake flyers being thrown around the electorate, popped into people's letterboxes, and it's pretty insidious because, one, they're lies. I've never had any association with any party for good reason.
That's just politics, isn't it? Politics.
Why does it have to be? Why does it have to be politics? You know, I want to stay completely out of it and talk about the things that people actually care about, which is the roads.
There's always the colour and movement that goes on behind the scenes, and everyone does it. There's no one pure in this game.
That's a dirty trick, isn't it? Because he's not a Greens candidate. Did you authorise that?
No, I mean, what I do is I get out there.
Did you authorise it?
No, I didn't authorise anything. What I authorise is the nice positive material that goes out. I can tell you, I'm on the receiving end of it all the time. Do you think I moan and groan and complain about it? No.
You're a 36-year-old comedian coming up against a former Trade Minister and frontbencher. Are you really a viable alternative?
One of the things I think is really great about my background is that I have a broad experience. I've opened a small business, you know, I've written a book, I've talked to young people on radio, but I think my experience is really great, and having some ideas and being willing to listen.
This time around, he has the electoral machine, the merch, and the money to make this challenge his most serious yet.
Hello, how are you? It's looking great. We've managed to get about 100,000 from the community, 100,000 from the crowdfunding group Climate 200. Democracy in action.
That's the group headed by Melbourne businessman Simon Holmes à Court, which is bankrolling 30 Teal independents this election.
Just good on you. Cheers, Christy. We've got to make sure we get that fixed, then...
Dan Tehan could be the first Liberal in 70 years to lose Wannon. His mother was Victoria's Health Minister under Premier Jeff Kennett. After 14 years as the local member, he seemingly knows everyone in town.
Hello, Sandy. How are you? How are you going? All right, that's good. A friend of Lee's. How are you, Dan? How are you?
Yeah. And what's the campaign look like?
Just wait on. Hello, Shirley. How you going? How things? Yeah, good to see you. How you going?
Good.
That's good.
Glad I caught you today.
Yes.
I'm on the way to Melbourne.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
What do you reckon? Is he going to win this time?
He better.
What do you think of the other guy?
Not too sure about him, no. Heard he's a bit of a comedian or something like that.
Thanks, Shirley. Good on you. Good on you, Lloyd. Yeah. People know and understand that if they vote for me, they're voting for change. They're voting to get rid of the Albanese Labor government. They understand that's a pretty simple proposition.
Dan Tehan is the opposition's immigration spokesman.
I don't think it's right that the Albanese Labor government brought in over 1 million people in a housing and rental crisis, and we've said that
you're
we're
going to run strongly on immigration?
Absolutely, because young people are saying to me that they want to be able to get into those homes. They want to be able to get to that rental property.
Dan Tehan is keen to get moving.
This is very good farmland.
The races are on in Warrnambool, an hour's drive away.
Very good country. How are you, Chris? All right?
Very well. Oh, my hair's wrong.
Hello. How things? Good to see you. How things? We all ready to go with the good as ever?
What about the odds of him winning the election? What would you give on it?
On what, the Liberal Party winning or here?
Dan retaining his seat.
$1.50.
Pretty sure.
Yeah. Well, it has to be. He's got the good record.
Yeah.
It's the annual running of the Jericho Cup.
Fasten your seatbelts. Here we go. The Hames Paint Jericho Cup is underway. Here we go. 200 metres to go. It's all Farag. Farag. 8, 9. Oh, this is a one-act affair for Farag. Willie Gordon, he's won plenty of features here over the up and overs. And Flash has now won the Jericho. Home goes Farag to win by 15 lengths. Slipped over on well.
Hello, Michael. How are you? Good to see you. How are things? What you'll see with Teals, the Greens, the Independents, with Labor holding government is sadly more of the same. Cost of living pressures, you'll see inflation continue to rise, you'll see the wrong sort of agenda for this nation.
We head to Brisbane, where the Greens surprised everyone by winning 3 seats at the last election. Hold these and they'll be major power brokers in the next parliament. But that's no sure thing.
Inner city Brisbane has become a stronghold for the Greens. The seat of Griffith was once held by Kevin Rudd, but Labor was evicted at the last election by a virtual unknown, Max Chandler-Mather, who tapped into rising anger over Australia's housing crisis. Anger that's even stronger today.
If you would like to volunteer in future weeks, we've got lots of opportunities.
It's a steamy Saturday morning in Brisbane's Stones Corner, and Max Chandler-Mather has joined his local park run.
Ready, set, go!
The event provides the Greens with a guerrilla marketing opportunity.
So good.
How was that?
Tough. I haven't run in a little bit. It's also really hot. Would you like some? There's watermelon and sports drinks.
Ah, pleasure.
There's no doubt that he has built up something of a cult following, I think, among young people and followers inside the Greens and outside the Greens.
His grassroots campaigning helped defeat Labor frontbencher Terry Butler in Griffith. A similar focus saw the Greens snatch the adjoining seats of Ryan and Brisbane. At just 30 years old, Max Chandler-Mather was ready to make his mark in Canberra.
This is a political and economic system now that increasingly is not offering much to my generation. I have friends on good incomes who will never be able to buy a house, who have moved multiple times because they can't afford rent increases.
One of his solutions, a cap on rent increases, has been widely panned by economists. Some say it may even worsen housing supply.
Isn't it dishonest of you to keep peddling this when so many studies, so many academics, the Grattan Institute here in Australia, who've actually studied your policy, say it doesn't work?
At the moment, we have a housing system geared towards making big profits for banks and property developers, and it has hurt a lot of people. Now, if you combined good limits on rent increases with a return to government investment at a large scale in good quality homes that are then rented and sold at prices people can afford, in combination is a very effective set of policies that helps improve people's lives.
He's a friend of our union, Max Chandler-Mather from the Australian Greens.
In Max Chandler-Mather's first term, one event stands out.
So I'm here today for a few reasons.
Sharing a stage with the country's most militant construction union, the CFMEU, when it was under fire for its alleged links with organised crime.
You'll be dismissed as radicals, you'll be defamed, your character will be attacked. But it is not radical to believe that a construction worker deserves the same rights to a fair trial as a banker, CEO or politician.
Can you see in hindsight how that might have done a huge amount of damage to the Greens brand?
I think there's certainly been a lot of talk about them. When I've talked to people and explained why I was there, people say they understand.
Would you concede that probably it wasn't the best look?
Oh, I can understand why people wouldn't feel comfortable or would feel upset with that, of course.
I thought that was a dreadful mistake for Max. The word trade union is pretty much a vote killer.
All right, hello everyone. Thanks for coming along on this rainy Saturday afternoon. In 2022, when we won, we knocked on, I think, about 90,000 doors. Probably the main reason we ended up winning here in Griffith, and we're trying to do something similar this time. Yeah, really good response this morning.
Max Chandler-Mather began his political life as a campaign manager and now schools his volunteers in the art of door knocking.
The debrief this afternoon will be really important for finding out what people have talked about, what they care about. G'day. Hey, how are you? Hi, how are you? I'm Max, I'm a federal member of Parliament. I'm just come to say g'day. Yeah.
The Greens will need to keep working hard, selling themselves as a viable alternative to the major parties.
Everyone I talk to feels that the Greens have overreached on a whole range of issues, everything from housing policy to unions and especially Gaza.
The Greens are now vulnerable in their 3 Brisbane seats.
After the 2024 state election, I would say those 3 seats are now back in play. Yes, they're still favourite to win, but it's gone from 100% certainty to a possibility that they could be lost.
At the last election, Labor did unexpectedly well here in WA. It picked up 4 new seats and for the first time in more than 30 years holds a majority of electorates in the West.
Anthony Albanese likes to boast he's come through here, Perth Airport, more than any other Prime Minister. There's a good reason for that. To stay in power, he needs to keep a tight grip on WA. He can't afford any breach in what's known as Labor's Red Wall. And so now all eyes are on the newly created seat in Outer Perth. It's called Bullwinkle.
Local nurse and first-time candidate Trish Cook is Labor's pick. Foreign Minister Penny Wong is the latest in a long line of Labor heavyweights to visit.
We've got a room full of Penny Wong fans.
Okay.
So they're very excited that you're here.
I think the election will be decided in WA.
Oh, we can't win without WA. We know that, and that's why we spent so much time here. And with that, I'm going to go inside now. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Thanks, Penny.
Trish.
Senator Penny Wong needs very little introduction, but I did just jot down a few notes. So you'll...
If Labor retains the 4 seats it won at the last election, it will be thanks to the popularity of the state Labor government. And so when WA Premier Roger Cook wanted proposed federal environmental laws shelved late last year, the Prime Minister agreed to halt negotiations. But Trish Cook wants to see those laws passed.
I would like to see better protection. The laws that we use at the moment, the federal laws, are inadequate. They cover areas of national significance, which is great, but the environment is being fragmented and carved up, and we need some regional planning.
So that's a different position than the Prime Minister took, isn't it?
Well, you'll have to ask the Prime Minister his views.
Trish Cook lives in the more affluent Perth Hills, but much of the Bullwinkle electorate is outer suburban, blue collar. It's known locally as the Flatlands.
It's going to be very hard to win Bullwinkle. Big test, big challenge.
What does it say about the...
Bob McMullen is a former ALP National Secretary and Labor Minister who spent 22 years in federal Parliament. He grew up around here and fears Labor is losing touch with suburbs like these.
Some of the people here have aspirations that they associate with the more conservative side of politics because they think, oh, I'm a small business person now, etc.
Bob McMullen says Labor needs more national policies tailored for suburban electorates like Bullwinkle.
There's an inner city bubble that has a set of attitudes that aren't reflected in the attitudes or interests of people in the eastern suburbs of Perth. I'm not talking about poor people, I'm talking about people on a decent income, but life's hard, and they're trying to get ahead and they're trying to get their kids a better opportunity. And that's an important thing to remember.
He's talking about voters like 24-year-old Cash Ahern.
Yeah, the screws do actually slip over them. Bit awkward to do one-handed. Really awkward, actually. I have been, for the past 4 years, in the mining industry. So I've been an underground truck driver, service crew, nipper, bulldozer operator.
Years of hard graft and watching every dollar means Cash is now well on the way to paying off his own home.
I was 20 when I got the keys in my hand. It's a good feeling to be able to be at my age and in the financial situation I am.
But he knows plenty of young people who aren't doing so well in Perth, a city that has the least affordable rents in the country. Housing policy may determine how this new generation votes.
If I'm going to vote for someone, I want to know that they're going to try and do something about this. Because one of the biggest issues today is this housing crisis, and it's not an easy fix.
Cash Ahern already knows who he's going to vote for and why.
In my local area, in the last 4 years, Labor has had a big, big influence. Investing in infrastructure, investing in local amenities.
So does your view of the Labor state government, will that influence how you vote federally?
Yeah, absolutely.
After being trounced at the last election, the Liberals are trying to rebuild in the West. They've gone for new blood. First-time candidate Matt Moran.
Come on, good boy. Good boy.
Yep, come on, let's go. Hey, morning guys.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, nice to meet you. Angus Grigg.
Welcome to Bullwinkle.
Hey, nice to meet you. Should we go and have a walk?
Absolutely. Jack's pretty keen.
The one-time journalist and army officer is being backed by the party's big guns.
Jack, come on. Whoop. He's off. Jack, come on. Good boy.
He's keen.
Come here. Good boy. Go. Peter Dutton came and launched my campaign, which was fantastic. And a few days later, John Howard was in town and he did a morning tea for me in High Wycombe, treated like a rock star.
What did Peter Dutton say to you when you won pre-selection?
No pressure, we can't win without you. So, you know, the key is to work hard, to listen to as many people as you can.
And he says voters in Bullwinkle are focused on bread and butter issues.
The main thing that they're talking to me about is cost of living, is housing, electricity prices, putting petrol in the car, putting food on the table, paying rent. Rent is so expensive in Perth right now.
But it's not just Labor and the Liberals fighting it out in Bullwinkle. There's a strong third contender, Mia Davies.
Thank you for coming. Thank you. Well done. Thank you for giving me the
You'll do a great job.
She's a former WA minister and opposition leader who's running for the Nationals.
It's been a little while since I've done a big set piece like this, so.
And she can pull a crowd with money and influence. At a business breakfast where she's about to drop some big news.
I'm just shitting myself quietly.
I am a country girl. I'm from Walcatcham. I am the daughter of a farming family. Until Western Australians can put their leaders in the inner sanctum of the Prime Minister's office, we will remain reliant on Sydney and Melbourne politicians, political elites, to win our policy battles for us. I'm Mia Davies, candidate for Bullwinkle, aspiring to be the future Deputy Prime Minister of Australia. Thank you very much.
Do you think realistically the Nationals could win an outer suburban seat?
Absolutely. I think people are looking for something that is the alternative to the Coles and Woolworths of politics. They're sick of the Labor and the Liberal Party big party politics. We've always considered ourselves to be the IGA.
They want plain speaking.
As a rare National Party figure who supported the Voice referendum, she says the country needs to move on from the culture wars.
Would you give a speech in front of the Aboriginal flag?
I would stand in front of the Aboriginal flag.
That does put you at loggerheads with the leader of the Liberal Party, though, doesn't it?
That's a matter for Peter Dutton.
When Australia votes, we could be entering a new political era. The grip of the two major parties is loosening. Power surging from the hands of the few to the many.
People are not committed to the major parties, and why should they be? They have to be one, and that's a good, healthy thing in a democracy.
If the minor party and independent vote holds up, and if it's a hung parliament, we're on the path of a permanent realignment, and that the minor parties may be kingmakers well into the future.
We need to shake the place up a bit and end the complacency and reconnect the political class with everyday Australians. Get ready, because it's game on.